Since I bought the M4 iPad Pro, I plan to use it as my dedicated computer for scripting, editing photos, creating thumbnails, and casual video editing. Not that my M3 Max struggled with anything in that department, but I like the idea of having a lighter computer for those tasks on the go. Honestly, I have my concerns due to the limitations of iPadOS, but as a creator, I wanted to make sure that the whole creating process was as easy as possible to ensure no matter what I'm carrying that day, I can get the job done. So I took on the task on replacing my M3 Max MacBook Pro as my main work computer for the M4 iPad Pro, and this is how it went. So guys, I have an M3 Max MacBook Pro and now my M4 iPad Pro, and to be honest, I've been using the iPad Pro way more than I expected. As I said before in my last video, I was never an iPad person, at least until I got my iPad mini and now this one. But I'm putting a lot of work lately into using my iPad instead of my MacBook to understand if the statement that many people say that this is the new MacBook replacement is true, but I don't know if I feel the same. To me, there are two different devices that work for two different things. I think more than replacing one or the other, it's more of a complementary device to the MacBook, at least for those specific scenarios when I don't want to carry anything heavy. For those times, I used to work on my iPhone and it wasn't a problem. You know, the iPhone is actually a very powerful device. But the problem that I have with that is that sometimes, you know, it becomes a very inconvenience and very small screen. So for those times that you rather carry something light, an iPad fits anywhere and you can barely feel it. So for those times, I've been doing a lot more scripting on the go now that I have a Magic Keyboard, which I want to talk a little bit more about that later, but it has been very comfortable and honestly a very great experience to have along with my MacBook Pro. As I said before, I don't think it'll be a replacement for a MacBook. In that case, if you're looking at a MacBook replacement in the future, it'll be more likely that it'll be the Vision Pro, maybe after a lot of development later down the line and when it becomes more accessible for more people. And by saying more accessible, I mean cheaper, because obviously $3,500 for an entry-level device is a lot of money. Therefore, for those days that I want to play my videos, do some scripting on the go, some photo editing, the device that I will take with me most of the time, more than likely, will be my iPad Pro, because it's just convenient. It's very light, it's comfortable to use, and I don't have to set myself back on working on an iPhone when I can work much faster on an iPad. Don't get me wrong, I still use my iPhone for a lot of content. Since the iPhone 15 Pro Max records in progress log, the footage that I get on my iPhone is very similar to the one I get in my FX30, which is the camera that I'm using right now. The Magic Keyboard to me is that portion of the iPad that makes the iPad what it is to me, and obviously it's not a cheap convenient to have. It's $350, which is pretty expensive, but I think there's other options out there. I've seen the Logitech version of the Magic Keyboard and actually it looks pretty nice. I need to get my hands into it to compare them side by side, and I might make a video in the future, but that's something that maybe will come soon to the channel. One thing that I would love if in the future, I don't know if it will be something that we'll see since Apple is leaning towards thinner devices, is that if we get a Magic Keyboard that is slightly thicker with more ports to allow that true MacBook experience on the go for the people that actually replace their MacBook for iPads, because for me, the ports that you get on the MacBook are a game changer. I don't think I can really live without my SD port or my other ports that I have accessible on the MacBook, because it's so much easier and convenient than carrying a dongle that it'll be the case if you want to use it on your iPad. So far, the battery that I've got in the iPad, it has been honestly outstanding. I think I can spend a bit more than a day with this without charging it, which is a plus. I still charge it every night because every morning I rather have full charge because I don't know what I'm gonna be doing that day or how long I'm gonna be far from home. But the battery is great for something this thing. It's still very unbelievable to me to see how well it performs in high performing tasks, and yeah, it's great in that aspect as well. So if you do gaming, that's a whole different story. For gaming, it does perform very well, and obviously with the M4 chip, it can run really high graphically intense games at a really decent frame rate. I think the most graphically intense games like Resident Evil Village run at 30 FPS, but they look very well. And it's a portable console that you can pretty much carry everywhere, and if you want a game, you can just bring your iPad, get a PS5 controller, connect it via Bluetooth, and you have a full gaming console on the go, which is insane for something this thin and playing AAA games, which is something that no other tablet can compete with right now. But again, I wish we had more options for AAA games in the iPad, but I guess with time it'll come. Right now we're in a good place to start, so I cannot complain about that. The experience with the new Magic Keyboard has been amazing so far. The keys have good travel with a premium feeling, more similar than ever to the MacBook Pro, especially now with the new aluminum frame. They're a hybrid in between the keyboard of the MacBook Pro that we currently have and the butterfly keyboard we used to have back in the day. Not sure if it's a good comparison, but let me know what your experience have been so far in the comments below. Obviously, there's a size difference in between them, so if you come for a MacBook Pro, it'll take you a day or two to get used to typing on the iPad because everything is a little more compact. The trackpad is definitely smaller, but now with the haptic feedback that you get while pressing it, it feels really familiar to the MacBook experience, at least in that portion. But the whole keyboard is very responsive, so I cannot deny that sometimes it makes it feel like a true laptop. It's a very expensive keyboard and obviously a very expensive convenience to have, but if you have the money, I think it's totally worth it. If you want to look for third parties, you probably find cheaper options, but I don't think it'll be as high quality of a product as the one that you get from Apple. Now, the question that you guys may have, will you be able to use an iPad to replace your laptop? I think for many of you, the iPad can easily replace a laptop in many ways. I mean, the versatility is hard to beat, and you can connect it to a monitor to have it as part of your desk setup, or you can use it independently with the Magic Keyboard and also take notes with the Apple Pencil Pro by removing it from the Magic Keyboard, and it works as a tablet in that way. Many high-performing apps on the iPad can be used for professional work as well, so it shouldn't hold you back in that aspect. Now hear me out, I know that iPadOS has some limitations, but I really don't think the solution to this problem will be adding macOS to iPadOS. I think Apple should probably work on those little things that make the experience inconvenience, at least for me, such as the Files Manager, which is not great. I think for me and for many people, that's one of the major problems since it's really hard to navigate and it's a little bit cluttered. Having such a premium hardware like this and the M4 chip, I think we're more than capable of having something more like a computer. I like the whole experience, but we lack in some areas. So for the Files Manager, I would like to have something similar to what the Finders app is in the MacBook. Also, another issue that I found out while using the iPad is when you're exporting or importing media. Sometimes if you're working on a project, and especially editing videos is something that I've seen more often, is when you're exporting a video, you have to remain in the app because background downloading for some reason does not work on the iPad. So if you're downloading or exporting a project and you switch apps for whatever reason to do something else while your project is exporting, it'll automatically fail, which is unfortunate because this thing can do that task. It's not a problem that it should have since this thing actually performs better than the M3 chip in the MacBook Pro. So I don't know why we having these limitations with something like this. It's almost like they give you so much power, but they hold you back, so it doesn't really matter if you have an M3, an M4, an M5. You'll be doing similar things for those reasons. But again, if you can look through those things, which I'm pretty sure it'll be the case for most people, I can assure the iPad Pro will be an incredible device for you to use as a computer. I have high expectations for WWDC, for all the AI features that Apple has been hinting for the MacBook, the iPad, and the iPhone. I think we're gonna be in a good place next month. But as of now, I think if you ask me if I recommend this as a MacBook replacement, I will say yes for most people, and I know many YouTubers say that, but I truly mean it. I mean, you can do so much depending on what you do. I will say if you're a content creator and you do video editing that is not super intensive, not with a lot of motion graphics or a lot of effects, this is perfect. Honestly, more than perfect. You won't have any slowdowns or anything going on, and even if you added those motion graphics, color grading, this still will be great. The only problem is that those apps or some of those video editing apps are limited by their version on iPadOS. They're not the same version as you have in the MacBook, which has more tools to work with. But still, if the time comes where they bring those apps with all the capabilities to iPadOS, I'm pretty sure that this piece of tech here will be a game changer for many people. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Tonight, I'm gonna take you out.